If hustle was the answer, every entrepreneur will be winning. Let's be real, grinding without strategy just leads to burnout. Welcome to Maven Talk, where we break down real, actionable business strategies that drive real results. I'm Sammi B, a digital marketing expert, fractional CMO, and brand strategist with over 15 years of experience, helping more than 350 brands grow, scale, and thrive. Here, we talk about what it really takes to build a brand, create impact, and make money without the chaos. No fluff, no gimmicks, just proven strategies and hard-earned lessons. Ready to level up? Let's get into it if we're going to get into it. Thank you guys for coming to Black Founder Weekend, and I'm grateful for them for having me here as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get us started. They got me on a strict 50 minutes, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and get into it. So I'm Sammi Bivens. I'm the founder and CEO of Digital Marketing Maven and Associates, where we specialize in helping our clients get in front of their ideal target audience, just to keep it very short and sweet. We do a number of things to serve our clients. We help them to start their business completely from scratch, from their LLC on up, and then we also have some clients who are already established and they just need help rebranding, or they may need help with their strategy, or they may not have time to do their day-to-day marketing activities. So we help them with their content creation, social media management, email marketing, all the things. So in addition to helping brands and startups, I also serve as a fractional CMO. So I'm the fractional CMO for Black Heart Association. It's a local nonprofit. They do free heart health screenings in the community. They have a mobile unit here in Dallas. They also have one in Houston, and they're also on a national tour right now. They're getting ready to go to Essence. We've been to Super Bowl this year. They'll go to the Congressional Black Caucus in DC. So they've been all over the U.S. And so I've had the pleasure of serving them for it's been a year and some change now, so just overseeing all their marketing and operations. I recently launched Maven University, which is a digital platform where we have self-service DIY tools and resources for entrepreneurs. We have website templates, social media help on there, courses, workshops, all the things. So we have something for everyone, basically. If you're a brand new business, we have something for you. If you're an established business and you just need help refining and growing your brand, we have something for you. And then for our larger businesses that are like, I don't have time to focus on it, me and my team take care of it. I have 14 people on the team working with us. We have web developers and designers, content writers, content creators, you name it. We have Miss Bliss here. She helps me with some PR and community engagement and things like that. So it's not just me. I lead the strategy. I am not a graphic designer. I have to make that very clear. I'm not a graphic designer, okay? I'm not a web designer. I know enough to be dangerous and can maybe do a little something, but you would much, much, much rather have my team work on it than me directly. But what I am is the strategist and the person that kind of helps bring everything together. So a little bit about my background. I do have a bachelor's degree in marketing. I also have an MBA, and I started out with a totally different business. So I graduated undergrad in 2009 with no marketing experience, no real world experience. I had worked in banking the entire time while I was in undergrad because I'm a first generation college student. So I couldn't afford to go do internships. I couldn't afford to work for free, basically. So I had to continue working. I had a very grown up job all throughout college. So when I graduated, there were no real opportunities for me because you have to have some experience in marketing for someone to hire you. It's very rare that they're just gonna hire you with zero experience, and that's where I was. So that led me to go and create my own business. It was to make extra money, but also to show that I had the skills to be a marketer and to be hired in corporate. So that first business, the name of it was Tainted Rose. We sold jewelry, clothing, accessories, things like that. I built my own first website, all the things, and I would be everywhere from literally church with my table and my little booth all the way to the club. It didn't matter. Wherever people were buying, that's where I was. And then I would host my own pop-up shops, but it kind of got old, and that's what led me to begin my own website. So stayed in Arkansas. That's originally where I'm from. I was there from '09 up to 2015. And I just decided, hey, I really want a job in marketing. There's not any opportunities here in Arkansas. I'm going to see what I can do in Dallas. So I just decided to come. No job, nowhere to stay really. Stayed on a friend's couch for a couple of months. Found a job at a startup. It was an educational startup. We helped colleges and universities to market their brands online. We would manage their website, help them get students in, do the ads for them. Some of our colleges that we worked for included Baylor University, LSU, Arkansas State University. We did some work with UTA. So various colleges and universities. And so that's really where I got my start in corporate. The whole time while I was in corporate, I was also still running my business on the side. And eventually I got my MBA while I was there because they were paying for it. So I was like, let me take advantage of this, get my master's degree. But after I got it, there were no promotional opportunities, right? So, and let me take a step back. That job that I had, my very first role, it was one that was created for me. The CEO of the company at the time, he had came from Travelocity, and he was talking about all of these different marketing initiatives and things that he wanted to do in the company. And I just walked up to him after a town hall and I was like, hey, I have a marketing degree, I have a business, I would really love to work for the company. I'll do it outside of my hours I'm already working, because I was literally just working in a call center helping the students to get registered, which was a big shift for me because, I had a very established career in banking. I had my own office, made my own hours, no one was telling me when to go to lunch, to then go work at a call center, living on your friend's couch, and people are literally looking at every minute of the day of what you're doing. So it was like really kind of painful and humbling, right? But I saw opportunity by going up and just speaking to that CEO, and I guess they saw something in me. They created a position for me, and that's really how I got started. So graduated with my MBA. They were not trying to promote me, so I started applying for other positions at similar companies, and that led me to Chicago. So I lived in Chicago for like 2 years, working as a marketing manager for Pearson, which is a global ed tech company. They have different branches of it, but we work with the colleges and universities doing similar work. But you may have heard of them, like Pearson VUE, where you go and do your testing and things like that, if you ever had to take like the GMAT, GRE, something like that. So while in Chicago, my business was still going. At this point, we had shipped to maybe almost all 50 states, some other countries. And it was really going well, but it was really just a side hustle for me. And at that time, people started to ask me, can you help me with my brand? Can you help me with my business? And I'm thinking, perhaps, like maybe, but that wasn't really what I had set out to do. So at that point, I was like, well, maybe I can start consulting with people. It's easy for me to I'm kind of bossy, so it's easy for me to tell people what to do. And I'm like, well, I'll give you some steps. You'll go out and do them, and you'll be successful. But then what I realized is people needed more than someone just telling them what to do, just giving them rhetoric. They needed someone to help them implement and execute it, because hearing knowledge, hearing different things, learning things is not useful at all if you cannot put it into action. And so that's how I came to Digital Marketing Maven. So while working in corporate, I started consulting with other business owners, helping them to get launched, building their websites. Like I said, that's really not what I do personally, but we did the best we could, and I helped a lot of people get started with my own skill set. And then the pandemic came. So I launched in 2019, so January 2020, I think, or maybe February, that's when we learned that the world was ending, right? And we had to go home and stay there and all of those things. And what really could have been a really significant challenge for me ended up being a great opportunity. And I don't take that lightly, and I actually don't like to say that, because a lot of people lost folks during COVID, lost their jobs, their livelihood was affected, but it really did serve as a way to propel my business, because now that folks were at home, they had time to focus on those passion projects or refine their business or get launched after they had been trying for a long time. So I was there to help them. But then again, I had to start building a team. So at about 2020, that's when I started hiring my first team members to come on and help me. And like I said, now we have like 14 team members who are helping us bring it all together. To date, the number has been 350. I would say we're closer to 400 businesses and brands served to date. We've worked, like I said, with our small startups all the way to major corporations. Right now today, Dallas College is a client of mine. LSU is a client of mine. I told you guys I'm a fractional CMO for the Black Heart Association. I've done some work with Black Opal and Fashion Fair Cosmetics. So our clientele really does run the gamut in regards to who we serve and how we serve them. So I don't want to talk too much about myself, but I just wanted to set the stage so you guys kind of knew my point of view, what I'm speaking about, and know more about my experience. As you can see, I'm certified, been featured in Essence Magazine, Inc. Magazine, all the things. Voted Best Minority Business in the DFW by the Dallas Morning News. So, we got a little credibility out here. We're doing some things.
If you're tired of guessing your way through marketing, it's time for a strategy that actually works. At Digital Marketing Maven and Associates, we create custom marketing strategies, high-converting websites, and branding that gets results. Whether you're launching, scaling, or rebranding, we'll help you stand out and sell smarter. Let's stop the struggle marketing. Visit digimarketingmaven.com to book your brand consultation today.
Okay, so I want to talk about how I told you guys I had just launched this platform called Maven University. And so I did Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program. And in that program, they're focused on you creating your growth strategy. How do you get to your next level? What are you going to do to either exit your business or what is your next step? So a part of my growth strategy was to create a platform so that I could help many entrepreneurs. I'm only one person. Whether we have 14 people or 400 people, there's no way that we can serve everyone, especially our Black-owned, woman-owned businesses, which we are growing at the fastest rate in regards to starting our businesses and running them. But if you go out, you look at different platforms, you rarely see us represented in those platforms. You see the imagery, you see the types of things that are out there is not really culturally inclusive. So my goal was to create a platform that was culturally inclusive, but not just go and buy a website template. Here's a course to show you how to maximize your website template, how to do your copywriting, teaching you about SEO so that you're knowledgeable about these things. Regardless if you hire someone to do your website or you do it yourself, you need to know what are those things that are going to make it convert and help you to be successful with it. So that was my goal in creating the platform. So I spent a lot of money building this platform because we had to build all the templates. We built all these things from scratch. The infrastructure, the management of it all the different systems and processes that we needed to make it successful. And so we finally got it launched. It was 2 years in the making. I want to say it may have been 2022 or 3 when I got this idea. And it took me all the way until the end of 2024 to actually get it launched because, of course, it takes money to do that, right? You got to invest in it. You got to find people to help you work on it, all the things. And so it took me some time because, again, I'm still running my agency. We're quite busy. So it took some time to actually get it launched. So finally get it launched. I'm thinking I finally have my team built up to the way that I want it to be built up. I finally had an administrative assistant. I finally had people in different roles so that I'm not doing all the work. I'm actually delegating. Because if you're a CEO and you're doing all the work, you don't have much of a business. You've bought yourself a job. You've created yourself a job. If you have to do every single thing because you're not able to focus on the strategy, you're not able to focus on how to grow and get to your next level because you're just busy trying to keep up with the day-to-day. So I thought I was finally there, 5 years in the game. I'm thinking I finally got into a place where I can be a actual CEO, focus on my sales. Like that's one thing that I really historically have not really done. I have some systems set up. I get good leads. They book or they don't book. We work or we don't. And that has sustained me for all of these years, a multi-six-figure agency, and I really have not had to do sales. But that changed, okay? So we get to the end of the year. I've submitted a lot of RFPs. So some of these larger projects and clientele that we work on, it's from submitting for RFPs, different proposals and things like that. And because of my experience with higher ed and nonprofits, that was the majority of the ones that I had filled out. Even some I had been invited to submit for. So I'm thinking, okay, I've got about $500,000 in RFPs out here. My Maven University platform is about to be popping. And then my agency is already in a good place. So this is about to be my breakout year. And then January hit. And we learned the results of the election. And so those DEI rollbacks and all of those things, that severely affected my business because one of my clients had been fully funded by grants, right? For years, since 2016, fully funded by grants. Then we get here to 2025, all of a sudden that language of underserved communities, all of those things is now a no-no, right? So they didn't lose any funding, but they didn't get any additional. So what does that do? That's a trickle-down effect that affects me. My contract, we had just renewed the contract at a much increase, all the things just for them to realize halfway through Q1 that they weren't getting the funding at the same rate, and they had to ask me to roll the contract back to the original rate, right? That affects me, that affects my team. I have a certain overhead I have to take care of. I have to pay people. So, and then a lot of those RFPs that I had applied for or submitted for, they wrote back. Some of them wrote back. If you've ever submitted one, you know, sometimes you don't hear a thing. You don't know if you got it, what happened with it. But some of them wrote back that they were canceling them, moving in a different direction, bringing things in-house, et cetera, because they were unsure of their funding. So it was a lot of uncertainty. On top of that, my new team that I thought I had built up and finally got us to a point that we were gonna go and thrive and move forward together, it didn't work out. I had to let several people go at the top of the year. And it was people I never thought that I was gonna actually have to let go. I'm looking at the team, I'm thinking this is it for me. We're about to grow together. If you hire people, work with people, you know it's expensive to bring on people. You got to train them, you got to get them used to your system, you got, all of the different things. So nobody wants to have to fire people or let people go. So you just hang on to them and hope that it's going to get better. But I can tell you, typically how it starts is how it's going to end. Like if it wasn't right to begin with, it's probably going to stay that way. So that's definitely a lesson that I had to learn. So I'm going to talk you guys. So that just sets the stage of like some of the things that I was dealing with that is why I had to make a serious pivot in my business in order to still be standing here. Q1 was rough, you guys. Like there were times where I was like, I don't even want to get out of the bed and face my reality, open my emails, see these things. Because if you run a business, when the automatic drafts come out and all of those different things are coming out, and my overhead was running to the tune of $20,000 a month. So any little thing, any little switch up, I still have to maintain paying $20,000 worth of bills, even when contracts don't go through. My team still want to get paid. Do they care that that somebody didn't pay me on time or a contract got canceled or the amount of the contract changed? No, they want to get paid because they've done their work. And how I operate is I'm going to pay you. I've never missed a payroll. I don't plan, and I've done things to make sure, that I don't miss a payroll. You have to maybe pull from your line of credit, get some debt, things like that, just to cover the bills until those deposits hit, because sometimes you don't get paid right away, right? So Q1 was just difficult. And I had some personal struggles going on with my relationship and things like that. And as you know, like what's going on in your personal life does show up in your business life. It does affect you. It does affect your productivity and how you're able to show up. So just dealing with a whole lot. So for me, when I realized that the money wasn't coming in because business did slow up, I think a lot of people were a little bit scared to spend or invest in marketing because of the climate and unsure of like what was going to happen. And also, marketing is always the first thing to go. When the money get tight, people gonna cut the marketing every time when it really should be the last, because if you cut your marketing, how are people knowing about you? How are you going to continue to get in front of people? How are you going to keep your business going and growing without your marketing? But for some reason, it's the first to go. So I experienced some of that too, where people were just rolling back budgets, not spending as much, not booking as much. Historically, Q1 is my busiest time of the year because I like to say during the summertime, people don't care about their business. They're on vacation. They're spending time with their kids. They're not spending or focused as much on their business. So the winter time, the Q1, like that is my time to really build up so that I can be prepared to sustain through the summer. So when Q1 is looking shaky and I'm seeing all of these things changing, it just makes you nervous because you don't know. And then I've been full time in this business for 3 years now, and I've never had a job. I've only worked in this business for the past 3 years, and this was the first time I was considering, you need to find a job. You need to do something because you cannot, no one's coming to save me, right? I'm, like I said, first generation college student. My parents don't have a lot of money. They can't support me in that way. So if I gotta step up and figure it out for myself. So it was just a lot. And I don't have a problem with going and getting a job, and I don't speak against that. I know a lot of people preach entrepreneurship and force it down people's throat, but if you need a job to sustain and build your business, look at it as a revenue source, right? That you can put in and invest in your business. So that was not a concern of mine for vanity or to say I'm a business owner, because I'm gonna do what I have to do. Ultimately, I'm a survivor. I'm not gonna allow myself to go under for the sake of looking or having a certain persona to people, right? Because we know how people can be, so you got to take care of yourself and do what's best for you, right? So I would say the first thing to do and recognizing there's a time to shift or pivot is, first of all, having awareness of your situation, right? You can't be proactive. You can't fix something you're not aware of, right? I knew things were looking weird by my numbers because I can look at my financial statements year over year, look at my profit and loss. I can look at my data and tell what my quarter is going to look like based on how many leads that have came in, based on my revenue, etc. So when things started looking a little shaky, I'm like, okay, it started shifting in my mind. Something's got to change. I got to be thinking about how I'm going to improve my situation because it's going to get worse if I don't do something about it right now. And I think sometimes we can kind of see the signs coming, but we ignore them. We think we're going to overcome it and it's going to magically fix itself. But more often than not, you're just going to make your situation worse. So you have to recognize the shift. Some key indicators of that are keeping track of your data, looking at it at least monthly, quarterly, whatever you can, so that you can see when things are happening. I'm not getting as many leads. We all know, if you're a business owner, you know I need X amount of leads, this amount of contacts. I need to reach out to these people this amount of times in order to make my numbers so that you can sustain yourself, right? So if those things aren't adding up, if the math is not math, then you know, okay, something's happening. In addition to, the reason why I was so excited about my team is because, like I told you guys, I had never really focused on sales. So I'm thinking this year, I'm going to be focused on my sales. I'm going to be bringing in bigger clients. I'm going to do all these things. But I was right back to doing everything again because I had lost those team members, right? So now no one's focusing on sales. The leads aren't coming in. Contracts are getting rolled back and canceled. It was making me nervous, y'all. So I thought I was going to have to get a job. And then one other thing I want to say is my platform, Maven University, which was supposed to be this passive income, this money driver, everybody tells you get into the digital products, all those things, but that cannot work without the right infrastructure. You have to have sales funnels. You have to have people following up on your leads, and it's just certain things you have to do to make that work, right? So I didn't have the time to get that piece built out, right? Because I didn't have the team. And then from the first few sales, I realized people didn't want it like I thought they would. I thought that people would be excited to learn about their marketing and their branding and how to put things together on their own. But what it has taught me is people don't care about that. They just want it done fast and for as cheap as possible. And then we got AI, who is now my bestie, but at first I was a little reluctant, but then I'm like, oh my God, like if I don't get into it, I'm going to be eliminated, and this platform that I've spent all this money on is going to be in vain. Because people, I kid you not, those templates start at $397. I've sold one versus all the higher priced ones that are done for you, because we'll also put them together for you so you don't have to worry about it. But I've sold significantly more of the done for you than the DIY that is much, much cheaper. It's just, I'm like, it's not adding up to me. But that's how people are. But that's also paying attention to the data, paying attention to what people want. I made a bad assumption that people wanted to learn about these things. So it caused me to have to shift, and I'm still shifting on the platform to get it to a place where it's more AI enabled and less where people have to do it themselves because y'all don't want to. And it makes me sad, y'all. Like, we really worked really hard on this. I spent a lot of money trying to get it up just to learn that. But sometimes, you have to make those mistakes. You have to have those bought lessons so that you can go back. Number one, you now have that wisdom of what not to do and how to pivot and go further later. So moving towards the next part after awareness, it's acceptance, right? Letting go of your original plan, because pivoting is not failure, it's leadership in motion. If you do not pivot and accept the fact that it's not looking the way you thought it was going to look, it's not working the way you thought it was going to work, then you're going to fail. There's no way around it. You cannot. Let's think about some brands that did not pivot. Blockbuster, right? And then we got Netflix, right? That's the biggest one right there. I know those executives are kicking themselves right now to this day because they did not pivot, they did not shift. Think about the pivot we went from cassette tapes to CDs to now everything's digital. If you don't get on track and pivot and make those changes and accept that it's not gonna look the way that you thought it was gonna look, you will fail and it will cost you a lot of money. So I had to let go of the fantasy that things were going to magically pick up, because that has happened for me. I've been very blessed. That's how I know I'm in my purpose and doing what I'm supposed to do, because like I said, I had not been selling. I had not been out doing the things that you would traditionally think you would have to do to sustain an agency, especially one that has grown year over year. We have never had a year where we went back in revenue. We've grown literally year over year. It's unheard of. So I know that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. So sometimes we can rely on, well, God got me. He gonna take care of me. And he do. But it takes more than that. It takes action. He's giving you the knowledge, the wisdom, the tools, the resources for you to leverage to go out and do the work. He can only meet you where you are. And if you're not willing to accept that it's time to pivot and change and put in the work, then it's not gonna work for you, right? I also had to accept the fact that I had grown too fast in some areas. I had delegated too soon in some areas. I didn't take the time to maybe build out the infrastructure to the best of my ability before I took off and grew, right? So that's something as a leader, you have to take that in stride, right? You have to accept that because you're making the decisions, you're the leader. They can only follow what you give them to follow, right? And even in accepting that, but then also accepting advice from professionals. I have a bookkeeper, my banker, and an advisor. 3 people looked at my financials last year and said, you need to reduce your payroll. They said, your payroll is entirely too high. Because what's 6 figures if you got to spend $99? What is that if you got to spend it all, right? They had looked at my numbers and said, you have to reduce your payroll. And I was thinking, well, I'll just raise my prices. I'll do this, because your contractors don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that. They want to get paid. They want to continue. Everybody wants to be paid their worth. And I believe in paying you your worth, right? But I still have my overhead, all of those things. So it was just some things that I had to accept. So another key point that I want to say is talk to professionals. Get help. You don't know what you don't know. If you're running I don't care if you've been in business 20 years. If you've never had an advisor, you've never done any programs or anything, there's still a lot of things that you don't know that you need to be learning. And when you get into these programs, you get with the advisors, they see things that you don't see because you're too busy in it. You're in it, so you can't see it from the outside looking in, right? So, and then the next thing is after you get them and you hire qualified professionals, okay? Because not everybody that puts themselves out there as a professional is actually that, so, do your research. But after you do that, listen to them. Listen to them. I cannot tell you how many people come to me, pay me good money to work on their marketing and their strategy, and they fight me the whole time. It's like this. You don't want to hear nothing I got to say, but you're stagnant. It's not, what you're doing is not working, but why are you paying me? What is going on? But it happens more often than you would believe. So after you invest in that help, listen to it, right? Let me get my notes. I'm trying to use my notes because as y'all can, I can get off track and then we'll be here to 12:50 and y'all like, hold on, lady, you said this was 50 minutes.
And speaking of hiring the right people with the right expertise to help your brand grow, I want to thank our sponsor for today's episode, Integrality. Here's more about them.
When you're the bottleneck in every major decision, growth isn't just about working harder. It's about working smarter. Since 2002, Integrality has helped entrepreneurs improve their operations through consulting, accelerator programs, and AI-driven platforms like Capixi. Our expert team delivers strategic solutions that drive profitable growth and reclaim valuable time. Ready to build a business that runs without you? Visit integralityllc.com and start your evolution today.
So the main thing is acceptance does not mean giving up. It means adapting with intention and honesty, right? Because sometimes it takes these different shifts to expose what's wrong and to also propel you to your next level. And if you can't accept that, you may not never get there. You may not ever get to that pinnacle point that you want to be at and what God has for you. I don't mean to get too spiritual, but you may never get to that point if you can't accept where you are and do something about it. And that leads me to my next point. Action. Rebuilding with what you've got. Stuck is a choice, but so is a plan, right? So immediately I went into fix-it mode. I told you guys my overhead was to the tune of $20,000 a month. And honestly, I had gotten a little spoiled. I had all these systems, all these different things I'm paying for. So guess what I did? I audited that bank statement so fast. What can I consolidate? What can I get rid of? What is not working? I shifted. Listen, this is tea, okay? So all my team members have a Gmail account under my domain because it's just easier for privacy and protecting clients' information if they can only access it through my domain. I had to shift them to another domain that I own just so I could decrease my expenses on my main domain because it was hooked up to a platform that we use called Asana. And so for every person that's on your domain, I'm paying like $8 in addition to paying for the domain every month. So it was inconvenient, but we shifted those domains. So now I can pay like $4 per domain and we can use Asana for free. So sometimes you just got to get a little scrappy, okay? Like, you gotta get a little, you gotta figure out, I shifted those emails. I was using Zoom because I prefer Zoom over Google Meet, but Google Meet is free with my Google Workspace. So guess what? Goodbye Zoom, okay? I use a platform called Honeybook to do like my invoicing and contracting and things like that. But they have a calendar booking in there. Goodbye Calendly. Now I wanted to keep them because they are Black owned, right? So I wanted to keep them, but I needed to shift some of these expenses. So that's what I did. I let go of team members that were costing me money. Because when you don't do your job or you don't turn things in on time, that means I'm up all night working on it when I've already paid you to do it. The clients don't care that Lucy didn't turn it in. They looking at Sammi saying, Sammy's late. Sammi don't turn. It never, I cannot tell you how many client relationships that probably could be in a better place right now had I let go of some of these team members. That, like, you're literally costing me money when I gotta go pay other people to do your work again, or when I gotta take my time to do it when I should be doing other things, right? And I also outsource. I started outsourcing more. And this goes again back to when we talk about letting go of what you thought it should be. I had this dream that I'm about to build this whole Black woman team of creatives, and we about to just change the game, okay? That was my dream. But then, first of all, I learned that it's not a whole lot of us that do web design and development. It's not a whole lot of us that do graphic design. It's not a whole lot of us that do some of these key areas that I needed, right? And then beyond that, it's not feasible. And I really do believe that diversity in different backgrounds, different races, different genders, it helps you to serve your clients better. So it was more of a fantasy than what really was going to be reality anyway. But I did at minimum want to keep the majority of my team here in the U.S. But guess what, baby, we in the Philippines, we're in Argentina. You know, we've had to outsource some because it's cheaper. I hate to say it, I do still have some staff here in the U.S., but I've outsourced a whole lot. And I hate to say it, but they're more grateful. I mean, maybe because they used to getting paid like $2 an hour, so, and you pay them a little bit more, but they work a lot more efficient for you, right? So I had to do that. Didn't want to, but that's what I had to do because it was either go live under a bridge or pivot, you know what I'm saying? So we had to figure it out, right? And then I started to leverage AI more. I can tell you guys, because I'm a very authentic, if you can't tell, and just what you see is what you get. Every room I go into, I talk just like this. It's not a single person who's ever met me that will tell you anything different. And that goes from corporate, when I was the youngest, the only black, the only woman, to church, my parents, friends, everybody knows this is just me, right? But I did a pitch competition. It's probably been like 2 years now. And number one, it was a flop because I froze up there. It was like the one and only time I froze up. And then I finally got through my pitch. And at the end, one of the questions was like, well, how are you leveraging AI in your business? And I was so proud to say, we're not. We're not. I got humans working on my stuff. And they was just looking at me, and I'm thinking, what's wrong with y'all, And then a few months later, I'm like, oh, okay, I see why that probably cost me some points. Like, you sound crazy. So it's like one of those things, you have to leverage the tools and the things that are out there. I would encourage you, start small. I'm not saying it's a lot you can do. I'm learning new stuff every day, but just even ask it. This is my business. What are some ways I can leverage AI to help me to grow and scale my operations? It'll tell you, you know what I mean? So leverage it, and I've been leveraging a whole lot more. We've always used automation and things like that, but we had not been leveraging AI. But over the past year, it actually has helped me to reduce my expenses tremendously, right? And reducing expenses, increasing profitability, it also allowed me to pay down some debt by doing some of these things, because as you know, as business owners, you may have a line of credit, you may have traditional loans, different things, but it's hard to pay that down and take care of that when your overhead is $20,000 a month, right? So by leveraging AI, outsourcing, and just accepting that things weren't going to look the way I thought they were, I was able to increase my profitability. And I'm happy to say I use QuickBooks to manage my books, and I'm happy to say that I am 50% more profitable than I was last year, right? So by the time, clap it up, okay? But I'm happy to say that, but I wouldn't have gotten there if I couldn't accept all of the things that were wrong, right? And do something about it. So my key takeaway here is sometimes action means doing less, but doing it better, right? So now, what I want to talk about is the season that I'm in right now, which is alignment, right? The season you didn't expect, but you needed. What felt like a setback was actually a reset. So ironically, Q2, because we're going into the summer months, spring, all of that, is really traditionally one of my slowest months or slowest parts of time. Like right now through probably the beginning of August. When y'all kids go back to school, y'all get more focused on your business again. So this is normally a time of figuring it out, going into savings, things like that. But this season has been so busy for me, y'all. It has been so busy. And I think if I hadn't have taken the time to correct some things, I wouldn't have gotten there, right? I told y'all I had not been focused on my sales or doing much with nurturing leads that I was getting. When you start seeing things not working, you sit down and figure out a sales strategy. Yeah. You figure out how to leverage some systems, and you figure out, I need to call these people back. Let me call, what's up? You need some help? No, I didn't do it like that. But you figure, you make room and you make time to do those things, right? And it has really set me up for success to land some of the biggest clients we've had, and then others see you working like that and continuing and going on. Some of my biggest clients have been from referrals, industries, collaborations. I've had women who own maybe PR agencies and things like that, and they refer their clients to me. The trust is already there. You can go out and see the work. So leveraging collaborations and partnerships has been instrumental for me as well. But also, I told y'all about my AI bestie, but it also has helped me to have clear boundaries, because I didn't have any boundaries, not for myself and not for my business, right? But when I know I have to set some time aside to do my sales. I can't allow you to just call me anytime or jumping off projects. I have to be strict with myself and with others so that I can make the time, because it's easy to say, because that had always been my thing. I wasn't arrogant to think that I didn't need to do sales. I just felt like I didn't have time. And that was because I didn't have boundaries. That's because I was not making sure clients do what they're supposed to do and be very strict on, this is when something's supposed to be turned in, this is when I'm supposed to be getting feedback. If you don't do it, you're out of the queue. Me? No. Well, okay, they didn't turn it in on time. I'm going to just stay up all night. I'm going to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and do it. I'm going to be up at 11 o'clock doing it. But you can't do that. And then what I learned is you'll make yourself sick. You will be stressed out, and these people don't even care. I love my clients, but they're focused on their business and all the things they got to work on and make happen for them, right? So they're not thinking about the stress or like how they didn't follow a rule or whatever we have set in place. So they're not thinking about it in that way. So you have to think about it in that way for yourself in order to be in alignment and to grow and to get some rest. Like, you cannot perform at your best. You cannot grow from a place of just being stressed out and ripping and running and doing any and everything to please people, because that's what it really boils down to. My therapist said, anything that you do that is something you really don't want to do or something that's going to take you outside of where you need to be, that's people pleasing. And that was like, I was offended, because if you know me, you know that's the furthest thing from my personality. I am not a people pleaser. I didn't think, but it was showing up in different ways in my business, because you want your business to be successful. I do care about my clients. I look at their businesses as extension of my own. What does it mean if I'm thriving and doing well, but all my clients struggling and looking crazy? That's not success to me. My success is my client's success. So that will drive you to feel like, yes, I do need to be up at 3 o'clock sending emails. Or when your team members aren't doing what they're supposed to do, then you got to be up at that time of the morning, because again, the clients don't care that somebody didn't turn something in on time. They just want what they pay for. And who can be mad at that, right? So, and I'll wrap it up right here so that we have time for any questions that you guys have. But I just want to have you guys remember those 4 things that I talked about in regards to, number 1, being aware, taking action, and having awareness, accepting where you are, taking action, and then that will lead you to being in alignment. The breakthrough often comes after the breakdown, but only if you stay the course long enough to rebuild on purpose. And I like that, and I wanted to make sure I ended on that note, because sometimes, just like I thought, okay, it's time for me to get a job. It's time for me to go out and do something different because this must not be working. But the truth was, all I had to do was listen at the signs, pivot, make a plan of action and stick to it, and things will just start to work out in your favor. Now, I'm not saying don't go get a job if you don't go out of here and be suffering and say, well, Sammi said. No, I'm not saying that. Everybody knows their situation and what you need to do. I don't have children. I only got to worry about myself. So if I'm going under the bridge, it's just me, right? But if you have a family and you have other people, everybody's situation is different. So what I am saying is do what you need to do. But if your business, if you feel like it's your purpose, it was given to you and nobody else can do it like you, continue on, keep building. Don't let a season make you end something before you get to that pinnacle place that you deserve to be at. So that's my TED Talk for today. If you guys...
That's a wrap for today's episode of Maven Talk, where we keep it real about business, branding, and scaling the smart way. If today's conversation hit home, do me a favor, subscribe, leave a review, share this episode with a fellow entrepreneur who needs to hear it. Want to take your business to the next level? Check out Maven University for free resources to help you work smarter, not harder, or schedule a brand consultation to become our next success story. And remember, hustle without strategy is just chaos. See you next time.
Mama Maven Talk.